All right, it is time for us to get started. So, thank you for joining me today. My name is Courtney Gallion, and I am going to be your teacher presenter today. A little bit about my background. I spent 6 years teaching personal finance to high school students in the public school here in Texas, where I live. And my students always told me how valuable what they learned was because I taught them how to manage their money, save their money, do their taxes, invest. So I am very passionate about bringing the topic of personal finance to young people like yourself. So I'm very happy that you could join me today. And I hope that you are able to take away some really good strategies and tips today in our budgets and savings lesson. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see. A budget, many of you probably already know this, is a written plan that details where your money will be coming from and where it's going to. And the coming from part is what a lot of folks kind of forget to think about, that they just put their salary or they put all the money that they think they're getting. It's just as important in your budget to know and plan for where the money is coming from, how much is coming in, and where that money is going. So why are they important? Budgeting is important because we need to make sure we know where our money is going each month. It is very, very easy if we don't have a written plan to lose track of things, because debit cards have made it so easy for us to just walk up, swipe a card, tap a card, and not really think about the money that we're spending. So writing down a budget and being disciplined about it is really important. It's also very difficult to get a good savings plan if you don't have a clear budget on how much you need to spend and where it's going. Because as we're going to learn here, savings is really critical to budget planning and wise money spending. So the first thing that you want to do when you're creating your budget is identify and write down all of your income streams. If you came to our last class, we talked about income streams and setting up different and a variety of ways that you are earning money. So when you're creating your budget, you need to know where all of your money is coming from and how much is coming in. You need to know how much money you're making every month. So what you do not want to include in your budget is income that's not steady or that you can't count on. If you're counting on money that may or may not come, your budget is not going to be accurate. So you want to save the money that is sort of bonus money for either saving or splurging on things that you really want to buy. So, for example, if you have an investment and 1 month that investment did really well and you got a lot of extra money, that's great. That's awesome. That's exactly what you want when you invest money. But that money should not be part of your budget because it's not consistent. It doesn't happen like that every month. So you want to make sure that your budget is only that money that's consistent that you can count on. If you do rely on the money that's not consistent, you may end up at the end of the month not having enough money to cover those items that are in your budget. And I don't ever want you to be in that situation. When we're talking about budgets, we talk about expenses, and savings should be the first expense in any effective budget. So the very, very first thing that you should do before you spend a single dollar is put at least 10% of your total money into savings. If you can put more, that's better. But most people can save 10% without missing it too much. So the very first thing you want to do, as soon as you get a paycheck, as soon as you get money from any of your income streams, you want to take 10% and put it away in your savings account. Your savings account is not part of your monthly budget. Well, it kind of is, but you're not spending that money. That's money that's gone when we're talking about a budget. That this should say you should not rely on leftover money to fund a savings account, because often there is no leftover money at the end of the month. People adjust their spending to what they make. So when people get raises, it's pretty much human nature to just start spending more. Like, don't ever want to be in a situation where you think, okay, I got a raise, so at the end of the month, I'll spend the same amount of money that was in my budget, and at the end of the month, I'll put whatever's left over in savings. When you're doing that, you're essentially telling yourself savings is not a priority. If you're using the money that's left, that means that it's at the bottom of your priority list. And if you want to be financially healthy, saving money should be at the absolute top of your priority list, because you're going to need that money for emergencies, for retirement, for big purchases. It's not an optional expense. We need to look at it as if it were a mandatory expense. It's important to have savings because emergencies will happen. They will be things that are not in your budget, especially if you own a home or a car or you have kids. Any of those things are associated with unexpected expenses. Your car is going to break down, things are going to break in your house, your kids are going to need braces. Those are things that are not going to be in your monthly budget, but when they come up, you're going to need to pay for them. So it's very, very important that you have money set aside for those types of things when they do happen. And I don't say in case they happen, because they will. It's a fact of life. Emergencies are going to come up. Problems are going to arise. There are going to be things that you're going to have to pay for. And what you don't ever want to be in a position to have to do is borrow money or put that on a credit card. So my important tip, I mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again. Create your starting amount for your budget with your post savings income. So after you've put money into savings, that's the number. What you have left is the number that's going to go in your budget. We don't want savings ever to become a part of your spendable money. Okay. So once you've identified your streams of steady income, the next step is to identify and calculate all of your monthly bills. Now, there are fixed bills and variable bills. So the fixed bills are going to be the same amount every month. Every month, your cell phone bill, unless you're buying extra things from or on your cell phone, it's going to be the same amount of money every month. It's not going to change. There are bills, however, like electricity, that are going to vary from month to month. So, for example, I live in Texas, and it is currently 103 degrees outside. It's very, very hot. And I like it very cold in my house. So in the summer months, my electricity bill is far, far, far higher than it is in the winter months. because it doesn't get super cold here. So we don't use near as much energy to heat our home as we do to cool it. So when I'm calculating my budget, what I do is I budget for the highest month I'm going to experience. So if my electric bill is $250 in August, which that's pretty much as hot as it gets in Texas, it's in August. So that $250, I assume it's going to cost me $250 every single month. And that way, when it costs less, I'm happy and I have money left over. If I did it the opposite way, or if I averaged it in those months where I was using a lot of electricity, I might not have enough money in my budget to cover that bill, since it's so much larger than I had originally planned. So you always want to leave yourself a little wiggle room with those bills that vary in price. In addition to just your bills that come every month, you need to factor in necessary expenses. So as human beings, there's lots of stuff we have to buy to continue to function in the world. We have to eat, we have to wear clothes, we have to buy gas. And again, this amount is difficult to budget for, more so than your fixed expenses, because they're not going to be the same every month. You're probably not going to buy a new wardrobe every month. You're going to have different travel needs. So your gas isn't going to be the same every month. You can kind of budget your food expenses to where they are pretty consistent from month to month. But you always want to leave a cushion. You always want to assume that you're going to spend more than you're probably going to. So it's always better to over budget than under budget. So if you think things are going to cost $50 a month and they're not fixed bills, I recommend that you budget $60 a month instead. Budget a little bit more, so that when things are a little bit more expensive, or you go to the store and you're like, yikes, that's more than I thought it was going to be, you're not putting yourself in a position to struggle to pay the bills at the end of the month. As you may or may not know, but right now we're experiencing a period of pretty significant inflation. And money is one of the things that I'm very interested in and I'm very knowledgeable about. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what things should cost. And I pay a lot of attention about how much I pay for things. And over the last few months, when I go to the grocery store, I get what we call sticker shock. And that's when I look at the sticker price of an item and I go, gosh, that's a lot more than I used to pay. So when you over budget, those moments, those sticker shock moments, are not going to negatively affect you as much as they would if you were under budgeting things. So your life shouldn't just be about saving money and investing and being responsible. You have to have fun. I'm not going to tell you should sacrifice fun for the purpose of saving all your money and squaring it away. Stanley, do you have a question?
Yeah, would it be better if you just like didn't spend anything that wasn't necessary? Like on the one of the past slides, I forget what it was called, but it was something about like you don't need to buy stuff that's not really necessary. So if
So
I just don't buy,
I never said that.
Oh,
And we're gonna take a look at this slide, and I think I'm gonna answer your question on this slide. But raise your hand again if I didn't answer it after this one, okay? So I am not going to tell you that you should save every available spare dollar, because we want to earn money. The point of earning money and the point of having a job and the point of being responsible with our money is so that we can have happy lives. And part of having a happy life is having fun. So I think it's important in your budget to include things not just that you need, but things that you want. So part of your budget could be things like entertainment expenses or shopping expenses, things that matter to you, that increase the happiness in your own life. So if you like to go to concerts and that's a passion of yours, that should be a line item in your budget. You should set aside a portion of whatever you make so that you can do the things that you enjoy doing. For me, I like to shop. And so I have part of my budget money that's just me being able to shop for fun things. And I'm not talking about groceries. I'm not talking about basic wardrobe necessities. I'm talking about plants for the garden or a new top or a new pair of sneakers. I most certainly do not need any more sneakers. I have 30 pair of sneakers. So they're not worn out. I don't desperately need them. I like them. They make me happy when I buy them. So part of my budget is shopping money. Now, I stick to the amount that I set for myself. So think of it this way. Think of it like giving yourself an allowance. And once you've spent that allowance, you're done. You don't spend any more than that in that month. And for this type of expense, look at it not necessarily as a single month, but maybe there's a concert you want to go to in July. So you don't spend your entertainment money for June, you save it to spend for July. You're still spending responsibly and sticking to that budget because you're not spending more than your allotted money. You're just moving it from one month to another. And moving it from a previous month to a current month is okay. You do not want to spend future money. That's where you get into a situation that's very, very dangerous in terms of budgeting and saving. So if you have something big that you want, plan for it in advance and you'll be okay. So Stanley, does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're basically saying that if we give ourselves like an allowance and we just don't go over it, it's fine.
Well, yeah, because you have to enjoy your life, right? What's the point of working hard and being responsible if you can't do the things that you enjoy? That's not fun. And I like having fun as much as the next person. We just have to do it responsibly. Okay. So when you look at your budget, if things are getting tight and you think, I need to tighten it up a little bit, the fun category, Stanley, is the first one that gets cut. because having a good time with friends is not quite as important as your ability to keep the electricity on, have hot water, and feed your family. So when you're looking to reduce your expenses or lessen your expenses so that you have more available money in your budget, the entertainment or fun category is the first one that you need to think, okay, could I spend less here in this category? But I have two kind of different presentations today. This is our budgeting presentation. And in the second one, I'm going to show you how to save money on the things that you have to buy so that you have more money to do the fun things that you want to do. All right, so assume that you have, you're at the end of the month. You have your budget items in order. If you find yourself with additional money at the end of the month, the best thing to do at that point is put it into savings or invest it. So you put 10% away at the beginning of the month. Now you're at the end of the month and you have extra money. Putting more into savings is always a good idea because it gives you a greater cushion when things do happen. So if you lose your job, the more money you have in savings, the longer you can make it comfortably without having to go into debt or without having to really change your lifestyle to accommodate that lack of work. I don't think this is in my presentation, but most people are 2 paychecks away from homelessness. So that means that for most of the country, that if they missed 2 paychecks, they would not be able to pay their mortgage. They would not be able to pay their credit card. They would be in a really, really bad situation. You don't want to be in that situation ever. So savings is important for that reason. That is why we always pay ourselves first, because things are going to happen, crises are going to occur, and when they do, when you have money in savings, you don't have to panic about it. So if you can save more, do it. If you have extra money, investments are a good idea because very few savings accounts will actually end up paying you, but investments usually will. So if you're in a position where you have extra money and you can invest it, the earlier you start in your life investing, the more wealth you will build over the course of your life, and it's exponential. I have a lesson that I'm going to do the week after next. We're going to cover interest, and then the following one is going to be investments. And we're going to look at how, even as a young person, when you guys are starting to make these financial decisions now, the difference in starting when you're 16 and the difference in starting when you're 26 is enormous. So if you can start investing now, absolutely do it. And it can be fun. Yes, Stanley, what's up?
My birthday like recently passed and my sister gave me a $50 gift card and I spent $30 on like this stuffed animal. Should I invest the rest of the $20? Because you said to start early.
So with a gift card, you can't really invest if you have a gift card.
No, I would like trade my mom for $20. Like,
Yeah, why not? I mean, if there's nothing else that Yeah, absolutely. Say, hey, mom, can I start an investment account? And we'll, like I said, we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. But I used to encourage all my high school students, look, if you want to start investing, now is an amazing time to do it. I wish I would have started earlier. Because I was doing, when I was in high school, I had a really good job where I was making more money than my friends, but I look back and I wasn't saving nearly enough of it. So if I had it to do over again, I would tell my past self, hey, put that money in an investment, pretend you don't have it, and squirrel it away. When you're under 18, though, you have to have a parental signer for any sort of investment account. So, because you can't sign a legally binding document until you're 18. So if you do want to invest, this is a conversation that you need to have with your parents and say, hey, I want to start saving money. I want to start investing money. Can you help me? They kind of have to, because you can't get an investment account until you're 18. Okay, is that okay? That's the last slide here. All right. So now that we know how to create a budget, saving money will increase your buying power without spending more. So that means I want to show you how to make your budget the same, with the same amount of money, buy more stuff or keep more of your money, whichever you prefer. I really, I enjoy saving money. I like getting good deals on things. I like using coupons. I like finding really good deals on stuff. It makes me excited. And I'll give you a little example. My husband wanted to order from Papa John's, and he wanted to order like a lot of food. I don't really cook a lot, and we eat a lot of leftovers. So he gets online and he picks everything that he wants and he puts it in the cart. And it was like $57. So he said, hey, will you look at the order, add anything you want, and then check out? So I got on the computer and I realized that he didn't take advantage of any of the deals that they had going on. He didn't look for coupon codes. He didn't like sign up for the email, which gave him a discount. So I did all of that, and I added something that I wanted and got the total down to $37. So I was able, just with a few clicks and a few different choices, to get the same amount of stuff, but save $20. And it took maybe 5 minutes. So that's always going to be worth it. And there's nothing shameful about being frugal or not wanting to spend unnecessary money, because paying more for something than the person sitting next to you spent on that same thing, that's not a flex. That's stupid. So you don't want to be in that position. You always want to pay less than everybody else is paying. So we talked a little bit about the importance of saving money. And so what I'm going to show you now are a number of ways that you can cut down on your expenses and save money. And I would say I've probably done all of these. And I've done even crazier, wild things to save money. I don't do it anymore, but I used to make my own laundry detergent. I don't know why I decided to do that one day. I think I saw it on Pinterest and I thought I could do that. And yeah, it was really easy and it worked pretty well. But now I use the little laundry pods, which are kind of expensive, but they're easy. So the first thing you want to do is look for unnecessary spending. So once you have a budget, once you create a budget and you've used it for a little while, it's always good to re-examine it, to look at that budget and say, okay, am I making good choices here? And what you need to ask yourself is, are there areas where you're spending money that you don't need to? So every one of your line items, kind of look at it and say, okay, is this a reasonable amount of money? Do I use this? Do I need this? And we'll go into greater detail here in the following slides. So one of the biggest things right now is subscriptions. I feel like I can't even just buy a thing anymore. I have to subscribe to everything. It's getting crazy. BMW recently sold a car that had heated seats. Okay. So you buy your car, you figure, okay, that purchase is done, it's over. To get the heated seats, you had to subscribe to the heated seat program, or they would turn off the function if you didn't pay for it every month. And to me, that's just insane. I would not buy that car simply on principle, because I feel like a car is one of the few things that you just buy and it's paid for and that's it. Like, you don't have to keep paying for it every single month. Because like I said, everything is becoming subscription based. And when you sign up for a lot of these subscriptions, you think, okay, well, that's only $3 a month. I'll buy that subscription. Oh yeah, I'll pay $2 a month to take the ads off that app. Or well, Showtime is only $5.99 a month. That's nothing. I want Showtime. If you're doing that every day, by the end of the month, you've spent a tremendous amount of money on these little small transaction subscriptions. And they come every single month. It's not a one and done. So every time you sign up for a subscription-based anything, you need to keep a detailed list of those subscriptions, and you need to reevaluate them regularly. My husband and I, for example, we got Starz, a streaming service. And for the first couple months, we're like, oh man, this has a lot of cool movies that we want to watch. And we were watching it a lot. And then they weren't updating their platform. They weren't adding a whole lot of new movies and new content. So we kind of stopped watching it. But we kept paying for it until I think it was on a credit card that had expired. And so months later, when we tried to log into Starz, it said, oh, you need to update your payment method. And my husband and I we looked at each other, we're like, do we even want this? Or did we just keep paying for it because we didn't really even notice the $6 that was coming out of our bank account? So those things can sneak up on you really easily, and $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 at a time, not a big deal when you're paying for it. But when you're paying for it every single month, if it's $6 a month, that's $72 a year. That's unnecessary, that you're not getting any enjoyment out of those things. So keep an eye on that. What I like to do, this is not written in my slideshow, but when you sign up for subscriptions, if you have a PayPal account, always put them in always charge those subscriptions to your PayPal account. Because one thing that I recently became aware of is that PayPal keeps a list for you of all of your subscriptions. And it allows you to cancel those subscriptions through PayPal with a single click. So I went to my PayPal recently and I was like, man, I'm not using these 3 things. And I was able to just cancel them really easily without having to log in to every single different app or service that I had used and cancel them individually. All right. So shop your bills is kind of a weird sentence, but the reason that I say this is we tend to go with providers and just stick with them. But once a year, you should shop around to see if you're paying the lowest possible rate on things like cell service, car insurance, or electricity. So take a day, go on the internet. It's a magical place full of information. And if you're with AT&T for your cell phone, look at T-Mobile, look at Verizon, and see if you can get the same service for a lower cost. I recently did this with our car insurance because when our car insurance renewed last month, I noticed that it had gone up significantly. And we hadn't had any car accidents, no tickets, nothing. But it went up by $60 a month, which is pretty significant. That was actually a 50% increase over what we were paying previously. So I got online, I spent about 30 minutes, looked around, and was able to find a different car insurance provider, same coverage for $60 less. So I switched. And this is a trick that one of my friends taught me. And it can be a little difficult and it can be a little frustrating, but it's usually worth it. When you do find a service cheaper with another company, if you call the company that you're currently with and tell them, say, hey, I'm going to leave because State Farm is offering me car insurance for $60 a month less, they will often match the competitor's price for you. So you save the money and you don't have to go through the hassle of switching service providers. Before I decided to stop paying for satellite and cable, I had to do this once a year. They kept jacking up my bill every single month. And then finally I'd call them and be like, I'm going to switch to a different provider. I had to sit on the phone. They gave me the runaround, but eventually they said, okay, well, we'll give it to you for what our competitor is willing to give it to you for. And it can be frustrating, but like I said, you only have to do it once a year. Negotiate. Cable and internet especially are notorious for raising your rates little by little until you're paying way more than you were at the start. Because most people don't notice a $2 or $3 increase in their bills. Or if they do notice, they're not motivated to do anything about it. So companies use this and they exploit this by continuing to just inch up your bills every single month until finally you get to the breaking point where it's, maybe it started at $100 and now it's $200. That's a big difference. So one thing you can do is see what deals your companies are offering new customers. Because often, especially cell companies, they'll give new subscribers a better deal than they give their current subscribers. And that's not fair. And it's kind of unethical, but it's the way it works. So a lot of times you can just call and ask for the new subscriber discount. And more often than not, they'll just give it to you. So it's simply about just saying, hey, why don't I get the discount? I want it. And usually they'll just say, okay. And there's nothing embarrassing or shameful or wrong about doing that. What's wrong is for companies that you trust to do that to you. It's not wrong of you to stand up and say you're charging me too much. Grocery shopping. This is getting tougher and tougher because inflation is really hitting hard at grocery stores and restaurants. But a large portion of your monthly budget is going to go to eating, unfortunately. As humans, we have to eat every single day to keep ourselves alive, and it can get frustrating. But grocery shopping is far less expensive than getting takeout or eating out, even fast food that's super cheap. So learning some simple recipes that you like with low cost ingredients like beans, rice, and noodles can get you a long way, especially if you're at the end of the month and you're struggling kind of to make everything stretch until your next paycheck. If you have things that you've learned to cook that you like with these low cost ingredients, it can be a really satisfying way for you to stretch your budget. For me, I love chicken Alfredo, or really any kind of Alfredo. I don't even really need the chicken because meat tends to be fairly expensive. Beans, rice, and noodles are 3 things that you can buy in bulk, really, really cheap. So if that's the basis for a dish that you enjoy, having that on hand and making that periodically can save you a lot of money. And then also, if you incorporate these low cost meals into your regular eating schedule, you can have more money to spend or splurge on fancier meals or things that you really like. So learn to cook a little bit. You don't have to be an Iron Chef or Emeril Lagasse. I don't even know if those are popular chefs anymore. But just knowing how to cook for yourself, some basic things like that, will really, really get you a long way. And you'll be more attractive to your dating partners in the future if you can cook a few really good meals. Coupons and ads. So using coupons, again, there's nothing embarrassing about it, or you shouldn't be embarrassed about it. But checking your grocery store's weekly ads to see what's on sale and consider planning your meals around what you can get a deal on. This is especially true when you're talking about produce, vegetables, and fruits. Depending on where you live, fruits and vegetables are seasonal. So, for example, I live in the South. Tomatoes, the best time to get tomatoes is from about mid-June to the end of July, because that's when the growing season for tomatoes, that's when they ripen. So during that period of time, they're going to be less expensive. And it's going to vary wildly depending on where you live. Because obviously getting food to the grocery store in a truck, having people that load the trucks, put the food on the truck, get it to the grocery store, that all takes labor and it makes the food more expensive. So if you are in, let's say, Michigan, and you want an orange, that orange has to come probably from California or Florida. So that's a long way. And if it's not orange season, it's got to come from across the world, probably. Or it's grown in greenhouses that are artificially changing the climate. So again, that makes it even more expensive. So knowing what is in season when, or eating the things that are in season in your area, can save you a lot of money. The thing that I've noticed at my local grocery store the most is pineapples. And I can't remember when it is, but there's like 2 months where you can go to the grocery store and get a whole pineapple for 77 cents. And it's pineapple season. So if you know when things are in season and you're willing to sort of change what you eat based on that, definitely can save a lot of money. And it's also a really healthy way to eat. Because healthy food tends to be significantly more expensive than unhealthy food. Online coupon codes. Never buy anything, never check out, never click on the cart and get to the purchase process without just Googling the coupon code first. So if you want to buy something from, let's say Nike, and you're in the checkout, there's always a box at the end that said coupon code. Open another browser window, Google Nike coupon code, and try a couple and see if they work. It's easy, it's fast, and it involves no pre-planning. You don't have to take a coupon to the Nike store. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to shop around first. You've got it in the cart, you're ready to buy it. Just make sure that you're not unnecessarily paying too much for it. And I just downloaded something that's been really helpful for me. It's a Chrome extension. So it's always kind of running in the background on my computer, and it knows if I'm about to buy something online. And when I'm in the cart stage of a website, it will pop up and it will say, hey, we found 3 coupon codes. We're going to try these coupon codes. Is that cool? And I just click yes. And it attempts to put in all these different coupon codes, and then it gives me the best one and automatically applies the discount. So that's been really cool. It's incredibly easy. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to change my behavior. It just pops up and says, hey, you can have 20% off of this purchase if you put in this code. And okay, great. It's 20% less than I was going to spend. So awesome. And it also has, again, I use PayPal. Sometimes it gives me cash back, which is another really great thing, because getting paid to buy things is extra helpful. Rebates. So a rebate, if you're not familiar with this term, is when a company gives you money back for a purchase that you've made. And companies will do this a lot. They'll say $50 rebate, so they can advertise a lower price, because most people will not put in the work or get around or remember to actually get the rebate. But now we have some apps that will give us rebates automatically when we make regular purchases. So the vast majority of people shop on their cell phones. And if you download an app like Rakuten or Ibotta and use them when you make regular purchases, these apps reward you with cash back. When my friend told me about Ibotta, she's another finance teacher that we work together, and she said, oh man, I just got this app. She said she got, because it gave her rebates on Amazon purchases, and she bought a lot of stuff on Amazon. She said at the end of the year she got $1,200 just from rebates on this one app. So Easy, quick, free. We love that. Make it yourself. And this is easy for me to say because I'm very DIY. I love crafts and doing things myself, making things. If you have the time and skills, consider making things you would otherwise buy. So just as an example, instead of buying a drawer organizer, for example, I don't know when I can show you, it's those plastic things that have the little compartments. Ask yourself, could I organize this drawer with stuff I already have around the house? Could I make one? Could I use some cardboard and just kind of do it that way? Because nobody's going to see the inside of your drawers. It's not like you have to make them pretty. And again, laundry detergent. I used to make my own laundry detergent, and it's way, way cheaper. And there's a lot of things that you can apply this principle to. And another positive element of the make it yourself option is most of the time when you do that, you are going to end up being far more environmentally friendly than the packaged alternative. So for example, when I did make my own laundry detergent, and I should really start doing that again, it was really cheap and it was way better for the planet. The ingredients that I bought were packaged in cardboard and paper. And I had a large, it was a pickle jar. My husband once insisted that we get a pickle jar that was like, you can't see my hands, but they're about 20 inches apart. He wanted this giant jar of pickles. And so I was like, okay, fine, we can buy a giant jar of pickles. So I love a good jar. So I kept it and I used it for my laundry detergent. And so I was not using any plastic packaging. I was not disposing of anything really other than like a piece of paper and one small cardboard box. So if you're environmentally conscious and you want to be environmentally friendly, this is a way to not only save money, but do things that are good for the environment. For this reason, a lot of people also have given up paper towels because they're obviously not great for the environment. And washing cloths is cheaper and more environmentally friendly. Watching your energy bill is another easy thing that you can do to spend less money. Every single thing that you leave plugged in your house is sucking electricity, whether it's on or not. They call it, I think, vampire electricity because it's kind of sucking your blood without you knowing it. So if you have a lot of appliances that you leave plugged in all the time, consider unplugging them when you're not using them. I have, if you look behind me, this thing right here is a heat press, and it gets up to 400 degrees. So anything that heats up like that takes a tremendous amount of electricity to run. Again, even when you're not using it. So I don't use this super often, so I don't keep it plugged in. I plug it in when I need it because I only use it about once a month. And then adjusting your thermostat when you're not home, so it's not heating or cooling a house that no one's in. I will warn you, however, this needs to be done with caution because I did something that I didn't realize at the time was stupid. So I was living by myself, again, here in Texas, in this same house that I live in. And I was spending a lot of time away from home. So I would turn off my AC completely if I wasn't home. And then when I got home, I would turn it back on and like turn it down really low to cool the house. Well, science is not my strong suit. And any of you guys who are really good at science are probably thinking that's not a great idea, because what would happen was the house would cool down so fast that condensation would form in the air, And I remember I had been gone for a couple days and I brought a friend home with me and I turned on the air conditioner. And I think we went outside for a few minutes and then came back in and he slipped in the kitchen because the house got so cold so fast and had been so hot that it ended up creating condensation on all the hard surfaces in my house. So you don't want to ever just turn it off and be like me. And I love to tell my kids the dumb mistakes that I make so that you don't have to make the same ones. But you always want to leave it at least on a little bit, especially if you're in a climate where it gets really, really hot. If you live in Michigan, probably not that big of a deal. Southern California, probably not that serious. But if you live in climates where it gets really hot, turning off your AC completely, not a good idea, because that amount of condensation, not only will it cause your friends to slip in the kitchen, it will ruin your furniture. And then you have to replace all your furniture, and you're probably not saving a lot of money. If you're looking to purchase a service, massage, trip, rock climbing, and even things like vision appointments or getting glasses, check Groupon or other services to see if there's a deal near you. They have workout classes, massages, outings. Like I said, I know they have eye exams because that's actually, I wanted a really expensive pair of glasses and they had if you got an eye exam, they had 70% off of eyeglasses. So I was like, well, that's a good deal. So even though I had a different eye doctor, I went there and got a really amazing deal on some very beautiful Coach Aviator sunglasses. And this might seem boring, saving money and being thrifty, but the more money that you save on boring things, the more money that you can have for things that you enjoy. So Stanley, if you want to go out and have fun, if you do the boring stuff and you save money there, you can have so much more freedom and so much more ability to go out and buy the fun stuff. So that's it. Do you guys have any questions, anything I can answer, anything that you want to add? Do you have a money saving tip that you enjoy? We have 3 more minutes. So and I'm happy to stick around a little longer if you need. And I'm gonna ask Stanley, you said you bought a stuffed animal. Was it a Squishmallow?
It's like an off-brand Squishmallow. I was buying Squishmallows and I try to keep it under $25. And I couldn't find any Squishmallow that was big enough and that fit my budget. Then I found this other thing. It was like a corgi. And yeah.
I love corgis. They're my favorite.
Hold on, let me show you.
Oh, I would love to see it. Hold on, I have to show you. My best friend got me this. It's a blanket. It has little corgis on it. I keep it in my office for when my lap gets cold.
Hold on. Here, this is what my corgi looks like.
That's so precious.
So big too.
And I talk about spending money on the things that bring you joy. My daughter is 6, and for her 5th birthday, I was at the store buying her a toy. I was just at the toy store, and she does not like stuffed animals, nor has she ever shown an interest in stuffed animals. But I saw this giant stuffed hedgehog, and I knew nothing of Squishmallows at this point, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute, I have to have it. So I bought it for her and she loved it, and she immediately started lying on it, like sleeping on it. And I thought, I wonder what the big deal is. So when she left the room, she had it on the couch, and I rested my head on it and immediately fell asleep. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So I got her a different one, and I kept that one, and I sleep on it every night. It's so much, it's infinitely better than a pillow. And they're so cute that my friends started buying them for me. I have this one on my desk, and then I have this was a gift when I was going through a hard time. My friend sent me, it's a red panda, because red pandas are my absolute favorite, next to corgis, of course. So definitely, the more money you save, the more you can buy ridiculous stuff. Because even though I'll be 40 this year, I still love a good squishmallow, and you don't ever have to stop engaging in the things that you love just because you're an adult. So, but I love your corgi. They should make a corgi squishmallow. I'll talk to somebody about that. So, okay, well, if you guys don't have any other questions or adorable squishmallows to show me, I will let you go, and y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Okay?
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.